I do get angry, but not easily. I know that's not very Pakistani of me, but you know, it takes a lot for me to get angry. But there are a few things that I really have to swallow my temper when I hear them. You have parents that come to me and say, I made my child memorize the entire Qur'an, and now he says he doesn't believe in Allah. And I am not angry at the child. I'm angry at the parents. What in the world were you thinking? Who told you that the memorization of the Qur'an is going to protect this child from the onslaught of attacks against Islam? I would much rather he know not a single ayah of the Qur'an, but he hold on to his faith. As a matter of fact, I've met my share of hufaz of the Qur'an that are traumatized to go into the masjid. Let me repeat myself. Hufaz of the Qur'an who are traumatized, they cannot go into a masjid. I met a kid at a university. We just started talking. He told me, yeah, I memorized Qur'an when I was young. I was like, really? You did? I was like, yeah, bro, I don't remember much now. I was like, so why don't you review? He goes, I can't. I was like, why? Well, you know, my hifz teacher, he used to beat us. And we used to have to, you know, if we didn't memorize, we didn't get lunch break. If we didn't finish our section, we didn't get lunch break. And we got punished. And so, every time I walk into a masjid and I see people praying, all those images come back in my head. I start having convulsions. My hands start shaking. I don't like to go near a mosque. I don't like to go near a mosque. So, that's what, no Christian missionary did this to our children. It wasn't some kafir military that did this to our children. Who did this to them? We did. We did. And that kid is a victim. He's a victim whose parents, for some reason, were deluded into thinking that they're giving their child a Qur'an education. That is not and has never been a Qur'an education. That isn't it. You know, some of you who follow my work, I am absolutely obsessed with Ashabul Kahf. I'm obsessed with these young men that are described in the Qur'an. And you know what really obsesses me about them? Is that they know nothing. They don't know anything. They don't have any ijazah in anything. You're reciting, حَسِبْتَ أَنَّ أَصْحَابَ الْكَهْفِ, and your shaykh says, Kahf. And he's going to fix your tajweed when you recite. That's cute. But, listen. These young men, they don't know a single verse of the Bible. They don't know anything. They know nothing. They came to the conclusion, we can't be worshipping idols. There has to be one God, all on their own. And that was enough for them to stand against an entire society that wanted them to live an easy life. They just wanted them to live an easy life. And they stood up against that with no knowledge whatsoever, just character and conviction. That's all they had. That's really all they had. And yet they become, these young men, they become an inspiration for Muslims who will go through fitna in the worst of times, so we will have to remind ourselves of their legacy every Friday. Isn't that something? It's really remarkable what we've done. We have taken the outer shell of Qur'an education. Qur'an education was actually supposed to be transformative, but we've made it informative. We've turned it into a trophy. We've turned it into things you can show people. MashaAllah, he's memorized 10 juz, he knows tajweed, he knows his makharij, he knows the qira'at, he knows, you know, and then you get into the Arabic, he knows the i'rab, he knows the nahu, he knows the balagha, he studied the tafsir of Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, Qurtubi, Tabari, Jalalain, Razi, etc., etc., etc. And he knows all this stuff. She knows all this stuff. That's great. All of that is just outwardly. The function of the Qur'an, its primary function, is supposed to transform you on the inside. It's supposed to change how you feel. It's supposed to change how you look at yourself, how you look at others. It's supposed to be about the attitudes we carry in life. But unfortunately, very unfortunately, that aspect of our education is basically has been deliberately or accidentally removed entirely from adult and children's education. And Islamic education today, like, you know, a little bit of my time I spent in Pakistan. Muslim country. When I received my 8th grade Islamic studies education, we were told to memorize certain surahs. Then we were told to memorize the explanations of said surahs. Not understand the surahs, memorize the explanation of those surahs. And then we were told to just recite them for an exam, bam, you're done. You're done, this is your Islam. You think that's going to hold up against the tide that's come? You think banning YouTube in Pakistan is going to solve the problem? Do you realize what's happening with young people in Saudi Arabia? What's happening in the Emirat? You know, the Emirat, what's happening in Indonesia and Malaysia? What's happening in Canada and the United States? It's actually not an American problem, the problem of the American Muslim youth. It's actually the problem of Muslim youth all over the world. It is a global phenomenon. It is as widespread as the web itself. It's everywhere now. So what are we supposed to do? What is the future of the education of the Quran in our times? I'll tell you personally, I won't give you the picture I have in my head and what I think is, inshallah ta'ala, the way forward for at least somewhat of a solution. Not an entire solution, but something of a solution. But I know the first thing we have to do is acknowledge our mistake.